Good evening and welcome to The Square. Tonight is the 27th episode when it comes to Viewers Edition. This is where you, the viewers, tell us, resident panelists on The Square, what to discuss. Burning topics, very hot issues in the country and beyond. And of course, at this point, it's every last Wednesday of the month. We do it just with the Square resident panelists, not guests. And I'm happy to welcome them here on the show. And I'll start with Charles Haba. Always a pleasure to have you, especially on Viewers Edition, every last Wednesday of the month.
Same here, Dan. How are you?
Good.
Just before you go to Bana, I'm sure birthday wishes are in order to the entire Mchisi clan. Yes. 100 years is, a century well battered to.
Absolutely.
To the senior pastor.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll convey the wishes.
Please do.
Yes.
And we're headed to church.
Yes.
And we're headed to church. Brenda Namata, always a pleasure to host with you.
Thank you.
Great. So the topics that you chose tonight for Viewers Edition are a couple, and we'll try and really give them as much justice as possible with the time frame limits that we have. Are the Kigali City car-free zones, very exciting developments from the city of Kigali. We're also going to talk about Miss Rwanda 2022 as something that was put forward as an interesting topic for Viewers Edition, as well as mental health awareness, especially looking at suicide rates of young people in the country of late, starting with, what has been happening since the year began. And with that, we'll kick off to the conversation at hand. I would like to just tell our viewers to use the Square RW hashtag just for all the comments that we'll be reading on later. So the city of Kigali has started with a vibrant note. I think many of you are aware of some of the plans to revitalize and make car-free zones in different areas, not just the car-free zone that has been there for many years, but new developments in new areas. The first is the Biryogo area, which is facing decongestion for pedestrians as well as beautification. Very sort of beautiful paintings on the roads and asking people to, make that a car-free zone and people to convene there, as well as the Gisimenti area, which is recently was announced will also be looking at being a car-free zone, thereby enabling bars and restaurants to move their seating area on the streets. This is every Friday to Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. So this is really exciting news. I know many of us have been waiting for the city of Kigali to demarcate car-free zones to enable people to socialize, to make Kigali a bit more vibrant. Even though we're in the pandemic, a lot of this is being seen as a gradual return to normal. So that's the first topic for discussion tonight. And I'm really excited to hear what the resident panelists have to say about it, including your viewers. And I'll kick off with Charles. We've been looking forward to some of these developments, and what do you think about these changes? What do you think needs to be done in order to make them sustainable, as well as contribute to the economy, especially the events and entertainment economy overall? Over to you, Charles.
First of all, correcting a mistake is something that's extremely important, and then correcting it in the right way is even more important. And I'll talk about two areas. So I know that particular street where it was done in Biryogo, and then I also know the area in Gisimenti where it's going to be tested.
As a patron,
it's going to be
or
a bit of both.
A bit of both.
From a real estate angle and from my social habits. The one I'm most conversant about that I frequent is the one in Gisimenti, and it is the most difficult area to drive through. Yet it is the most vibrant area from an entertainment perspective. It is also the most difficult area to find parking, yet it has the most number of dwellers who actually hang there. So, as a matter of fact, we're actually joking about this with a friend of mine. He said, the city of Kigali just stole our idea. Because we were thinking, of course, we had no specific implementation plans about it, but we thought that how clever would it be if somebody just came and said, rent me your parking spaces or the roadside or the pavements in front of your stalls in the night, I invest in the chairs and the tables, and then you sell me the alcohol and we work out how you pay me or how I pay you. So I think it's a very, very brilliant idea. I saw some people complain. Some of the complaints are really around the timings, and
it's from 4 to 6 p.m. It's too early.
Yeah.
Traffic.
I think it should be a little bit later, and it should go a little longer. Yeah.
4 p.m. I think.
Yes, yes. 4
On
p.m. is a
Fridays,
little bit
people are still
early,
coming
yes.
from school,
Yeah.
getting the kids from school and that sort of thing.
And I think it should go to as long as curfew lasts, and eventually when curfew is lifted, it should go until the last man standing, depending on the license that you have.
Yeah.
So I commend it. I think it's a brilliant idea. If you look at the nature of businesses on that street beyond a certain time, having a car driving through that lane is actually a huge inconvenience to you. And I think it's something that the city of Kigali should be commended on. Absolutely. Yeah.
Verna?
Charlie, must it be a bar area?
First of all, there's no city in the world that does not have zoning guidelines. If the area has been zoned as entertainment and it has organically grown to be an entertainment zone, we are extremely lucky, because one of the things we complain about in our city is how boring our city is. Now, if an area has grown organically to become designated as an entertainment zone, let it be encouraged. And we have been here on the square bashing the city of Kigali about things that they don't get right. I think they deserve pay rises on this particular one. So my answer to your question is yes.
And I think, just Brenna, also, when you say bar area, I think we need to include, I think destigmatize also. It's a bar and restaurant area. Yes, they serve alcohol, but there's also an economy of foodstuffs, restaurant, eating. Just to get back to you about the terminology.
I mean, the reason I asked is because there's a lot of excitement around the area because it has more bars, you know, meaning that you're creating more space for people who want to drink. Anyway.
But can I just say that, Dana, with your permission, that if you look at a bar, the ecosystem around a bar is extremely enormous. You talk about food, you talk about people who want to do some late night shopping before they get back home. You'll talk about people who are tired and need to rest a little bit. You'll talk about and the people who serve them, the people who offer that service, the waiters, the waitresses, the people who offer the transport to those people and their families that they feed, the people who vend food on the streets, the commercial sex workers, the security guys. It's an entire industry that is going to benefit from this. Yeah.
I agree, but I'm also interested to hear Brenna's. Like what's the issue?
So I think it's there's so much progress around open spaces, and I think it builds into the vision of having a sustainable city, also sustainable country, and by this I mean more environment friendly. You know, the more open spaces that you have, the less you have in terms of emissions. You know, cars driving through. So it's good. My concern is that we seem to be more preoccupied with adult entertainment. How do we, within the same space, think about the children, you know, or, you know, families coming together within that space? So if the tendency is really to have them around places where already there's a culture of bars and, you know, how do you bring in children into that space, even if there's a restaurant, you know? So for me, the recommendation would be, can we think beyond adult entertainment and find a way of creating safe spaces, open streets that also cater for family and children? That's number one. Number two, again, beyond alcohol, can we have maybe streets that just have other things? You know, whether it's just entertainment or think of it, anything else, yeah? So that it's beyond, you know, you have your beer bottle or, yeah, because right now when you go around some of these spaces, the excitement is so much around the opportunity to drink as much alcohol as you can, yeah.
I would tend to agree with both of you. My specific point of view, and I'm going to touch a bit on what you said, but I think those are both valid points, is to do with the coffee zones. And I'll talk about the coffee zone that's in town. It's been there for, how many years has it been, Charles? Six years almost?
About that, yeah.
And it is, while I am appreciating the coffee zones that the city of Kigali is putting forward in Biryogo and Kisimenti, I feel that the one in town, it's much bigger. The design has been done well. The redesign of it has been invested in more than this, and I'm still yet to see activities there that contribute to the vision or the mandate of Kigali City to make it vibrant. It is still. I recently had a work photo shoot there, and the space is just beautiful. There are benches all over the place. There's this huge sign, Kigali, kind of like what's in Amsterdam. There's really investment there, but it's failed to launch, to be frank. And my question is, yes, we're excited about this, but what happens to the biggest car-free zone we have in the city? What it's used for is basically car-free day, when we're exercising every 2 Sundays of the month. But the activities that are there, the coffee shops, I don't think they're facilitated enough to do what they have to do. When it comes to, activities, the events, they're still limited. I think it's still hyper-regulated. If us to do, we are living in COVID times, but we're still having concerts. We are still having, different activities, still adhering to COVID-19 guidelines. Why then activities there are still not prohibited, but it's really tough to do them there. And, it's an entire street. You could have a street festival selling food, selling artisan, things, beads, jewelry, poetry, silent disco, for crying out loud. So my take is that really welcome to City of Kigali's, putting forward Biryogo and Kisimenti, but we need to just go back to the drawing board and understand why have we failed to make this as vibrant as it is with the biggest car-free zone we have in the city.
Can I throw a comment on that? The car-free zone in the Central Business District is Kigali's biggest mistake, in my opinion, for 2 major reasons. Number one, by far, is that there wasn't thought process through it. It seemed to have been to have landed across onto the tables of the leadership of Kigali municipality at the time, and that's why you see, one, it has taken a very long time to figure out what to do with it. But 2, it has killed the entire city. The second, and I want to compare it with Biryogo and Kisimenti, that are naturally very pedestrianized at those times of the hours in the evenings and what have you.
Like you said, organic.
Yes, it's been extremely organic. So it's a catch-up game. But I want to say something. The second point I want to raise is around something that is not unique to the city of Kigali, and that's the evolution of the Central Business District as the hours fed. So because naturally, the more time you spend in a place, the quicker you want to move out of that place. So you're working in Central Business District the whole day. The first thing you want to do is move out and go closer to the suburbs, closer to the residential areas, and spend your evening there with your with your family, or as close to where you live as possible. And it's not unique to Kigali that people will move away. We actually, I think one of our mayors tried to introduce a 24-hour central business district. It worked in other parts of Kigali, but not in the Central Business District. So you cannot force the Central Business District to be what it is not. Guys go there, they work, they leave. Yeah, so it's just a natural phenomenon, and you can't fight it.
So if I could respond to that. Sure. I think that it's not that you can't force it. We have to look at what facilitates that space. Yeah, because if you're in an open space and maybe you're having a beer, you need to be guaranteed that anytime that you finish, you find transport. Most of the time, people are actually running to leave the city because, they will not have means of transport. So I feel that with better planning, looking at how, okay, if someone is coming in maybe at 5, they want to leave maybe at midnight, can they easily find means of transport? If you have that in place, I think that also improves, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the other thing is also, I don't know who I was speaking to about this, you find that we still have, for instance, fitness places. You have office blocks, and there's no fitness place around the building. I mean, if we take, for instance, a big building like RDB, there's no fitness area within RDB. Imagine if you create space and you have everything in there. No one will be worried about going home. But most probably people who work at RDB are running to go, you know, beat the traffic, get to Kali Fitness or, you know. So I feel that with better planning around these projects, and then as you rightly point out, you can have them wherever, just have a plan.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah.
And I like
It has not worked. We are not going to be champions of reinventing the wheel. It will not work.
I think it's
I am going to be a prophet of doom on this one. We should consider a scene of the renewed movie of what's that? Ghost Must Be Walking. I think that's.
Anyway.
Let's talk to the Eric Kabiras of this world to come up with gloomy movies to act in Central Business District
And I like that you
beyond a
mentioned
certain
him.
time. Yes.
But before we
I
go
like
to the
that
next
you mentioned
point,
him,
before
because
we go,
Eric has before, you know, the cinema week. He takes the cinema around and he actually
Before
has it in a new
pre-pandemic.
place.
Yes. So write him. Let Blue Oceans write him a gloomy script for the Central Business District at night.
I think two things, but I really like your point of looking at it holistically. I think if, you know, what City of Kigali is doing, and we come back to this institutional coordination, if they're working with transport operators and say, look, we want to have events here, and they have to be deliberate about it. You're spelling doom and gloom, but I disagree. I think if there's a deliberate effort to revive, there's too much investment to leave this place just to die. If there's a deliberate effort to invest in making it vibrant, to look at
don't
policies.
believe it, there is investment.
Let me just finish,
Yes.
Charles. I heard you. To also look at deliberately how people who come and approach the city of Kigali, can we do these events? Can you work holistically with the city, with the police? In terms of granting permissions? Can you work also closely with tour operators? Can you work closely with health officials to ensure COVID guidelines? And I'm telling you, if this was done in tandem, if there was an institutionally organized, 9-silo, you know, people working together, this place, we are hungry for this as Rwandan citizens.
I don't believe there's been investment
would
in that
work.
in the Kafri zone. In
If
any
there has
case, there's
been.
been this investment.
When was the last
If
time you were there,
look-
Charles?
I can't spend 3 days without going into the CBD.
And you're trying to tell me, not the CBD, I'm looking at the Kafri zone.
specifically.
in the
I'll tell you
CBD.
the number
Yeah.
of buildings that have shut down.
Yes.
From Centenary House all the way up to the last building down there, which is currently Koje Bank, on the lower side of that building.
The road that goes to
The
Koldosh.
buildings are empty. Tenancies have dropped on the buildings.
So
that are on
this
the
is
other side
why,
of it.
Charles,
That is
it comes to my
No,
point
those
of looking
funny
at
little wooden
no,
structures that
that's
they've
what I'm
put
trying to
there.
say. That's what I'm
Yes.
trying to say. It comes to being deliberate about it.
Yeah,
If
with a
our
plan.
officials woke up and said, you know what, you know, there's public commentary on this. Let's be deliberate. What can we do to make this place vibrant? We can't just let it die.
All that
I
is
disagree
required to
with
make
you
it
then.
vibrant
Yes.
is to swallow humble pie
Okay, yeah. Let's just agree to
and
disagree.
revert it
Yeah.
to what it was.
That's impossible. I don't think we're going to
Humble
renege
pie.
and go back on that. But anyway, thanks for both your valid points. Car-free zone, I think it's not only on the square, but I think a lot of city residents have very, very either polar or passionate views about it. And to the officials who, you know, invested in this, please, we are here to make, or, you know, be a sounding board on the policies that can make it vibrant. And so far, what's being done by the city of Kigali, especially this new leadership with Biryogo and Kisimenti, is it's lauded. We're looking forward to it. But let's also try and return to the CBD, CFZ, and see how we can really try and lift it off from where it looked like it was going. I know, Charles, we'll continue this another
I
day.
love Kisimenti.
Bernard, there's something you want to say?
Yeah, just to say that it's not like we are reinventing or, you know, this has been done elsewhere.
Exactly.
You know, so
It's copy and paste.
We could go to Colombia and ask how they've been doing it.
Even
because,
different
you
parts
know,
of Abidjan.
Yeah, yeah. Colombia
know?
has been doing it since
Yeah.
the 1970s.
Yeah.
So you could, it could be a good trip,
Study
to
tour.
Colombia and get some ideas.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Long Street in Cape Town is not in the CBD.
Okay.
Whatever you find on the study tour, if it works.
You know, we pick what can work.
Yeah.
But thanks, Berna and Charles. The second topic, also a hot topic, I know not only on the square, but also in public, is the Miss Rwanda. And this is another topic that was highlighted by our viewers for the Resident Square the Square panelists to discuss on Viewers Edition. And this particular Miss Rwanda 2022 has been quite eventful. There have been a couple of new changes, such as the inclusivity of it. We had, for the first time, I think, ever in this beauty pageant, people with disabilities competing, some even getting a pass. The prizes, the packages for the contestants and potential winners has been increased. It's more comprehensive. But at the same time, it's also been marred by complaints. And these complaints are to do with the voting system. And from what we understand, one contestant can be voted for more than once. So the interpretation of this is that, if I have money on my phone to vote 10 times for Berna, who's, from the city, whereas people who don't have that stronghold, maybe, from different parts, don't have, people to vote for them. The way they are is going to be unequal in their standing, in terms of some people have a whole contingent who are going to vote 100 times a day for, until the 26th, and there's some people who don't have that. So people are saying it's irregular with the governance in the voting system and that sort of thing. So all these things have been characterizing Miss Rwanda 2022. And my question is on the sentiments, the informed opinions and sentiments the Square Resident panelists have on Miss Rwanda, not only 2022, but this event over the years, its growth, its impact. And we've had this conversation several times on the show. We've had this conversation with Miss Rwanda representatives, including former misses. So yeah, I'm just keen to hear what we have to say. Berna, do you want me to start with you?
Perhaps we should start with Charles.
I think let's start with Charlie.
No,
Charlie,
I'd have really preferred that you start with Berna, because
I have
our
known
views
you.
differ and very vehemently.
I know.
But I think it's very important that there's a divergent opinion on any topic whatsoever.
Absolutely, especially on the square.
Yes, I mean, a few years ago, I thought it was Berna against Miss Rwanda, but over time she's managed to win over a few converts, and and I think that means that it's something worth its meat. But the other thing is that as every pageant goes by, as every year goes by, there is better brains, better ideas, and when I personally interact with them quite a bit. I'm still invited to a few of their events because I've been associated with them, so I may not be the best placed person to speak.
Conflict of interest.
No,
I've been invited to some events too.
Yeah. And
I haven't been
the
invited for obvious
I
reasons.
think that's for obvious reasons.
The brains that these ladies have on top of their necks is extremely impressive.
People need to understand that you
yes.
can have beauty and brains. One doesn't preclude the other.
Yes. And I think that's one of the things that the anti-Miss Rwanda emissaries led by Berna need to understand that when you look, if I intentionally look for something that is against you, Diana, I will definitely find it. But if I come to you with to appraise you with an optimistic view, I will only look at that. Now, I also followed, and on Sunday I joined Twitter Spaces. There's a guy who was
James? One of the judges? No.
No. It's one of the guys who's in Berna's club. He was hosting a Miss Rwanda and anti-Miss Rwanda Twitter Spaces.
They didn't invite me.
Yeah, so I joined. I kid you not, after 3 minutes I was off.
Yeah.
Because from the beginning of the show, 2-3 minutes, he was only looking at
The negatives.
and probably giving fair verdict. He did mention some of the things that have not gone wrong, that have not gone right with the organization of the show, and say, okay, fine. If there's been cases of pageants complaining about abuse, it should not be tolerated at all. But is Miss Rwanda associated with abuse? Definitely not. If there's been cases of unfairness in the judgment, and to your earlier point around the people who have money will get more votes and what have you, can we then skew it towards, because it's just pure algorithm, can we skew it towards not necessarily voting, because voting means it's revenue for Miss Rwanda or the telecoms or whoever is behind the deal, and make sure there is more weighted points around their projects that they have. So all those things are points that can be argued to be pro the good side of Miss Rwanda. And the last point I want to raise is really around the global positioning of Miss Rwanda vis-a-vis the way we are looking at it in Rwanda. I tried to Google and search for people who have been so against, at least on social media, their own beauty queens, their own intelligent beauty queens, and I didn't find as many people as Rwandans. So I said, if you have a problem with beauty, I can understand. But you have a problem with an intelligent woman? I just don't get it. Yes.
Berna, over to you. I know over the years your stance on this has not changed, so really looking forward to what you have to say tonight.
Yeah, when I saw it on the list of the topics to discuss, I didn't know if I had anything new to say. And unfortunately for me, I haven't even followed, so I don't know what has been taking place. But I will insist on a few things. One, it is a business. Yeah, it's a business. There are jobs. You have an investor in the franchise. You have these people that are employed within this business, whether it's the photographers, the videographers. So it's a business, yeah? And I totally get that. That said, there's the bit I will never understand, that it is still shocking that a woman is beautiful and she's intelligent. Because why does it still make news that, oh, beauty with brains, and it's always women? Why don't we say the same about, oh, this man is actually handsome and he's intelligent? Why don't we have that kind of attitude? Mm-hmm. So for me, as long as we continue to say, oh, beauty with brains, it has been repackaged and we have more women, beauty with brains. It's essentially what you're saying is women are not expected to be intelligent. And I'm saying no, okay? It doesn't matter. Let's stop having beauty and intelligence. Like, that comparison should just not be there anymore. In my draconian world, that is what I would do.
And I think that's a fair comment.
Yeah, that is one. Number two,
comment.
So because it's a business, they're working so hard to win, I don't know what to call them, win the hearts and win as much support as they can. So they will go into trying to make it inclusive, and they will go for the easy targets in terms of trying to make it inclusive. Say, some of these things, they are so artificial, okay? Because yes, you're saying the contest is inclusive. We look at it, we look at the people who are in it. Why do we have people sympathizing with some of the images that they see? Yeah, saying, oh, this person is also there. Why do we have such emotions if we're saying it's inclusive? So for me,
For you, they should have a right
you know,
to be there.
yeah,
It should not be a
yes.
shocking,
Why are people
sympathetic
sympathizing with them?
card.
You know, remember, it is a business. And my last point is around the messaging. Again, because it's a business. Someone is earning, you know, whatever message you send, there's someone making money. I'm not sure that the contestant is making as much. So, I mean, it's there. I understand that it is a business, but as far as I'm concerned, no.
No, what? Like,
They should call it something else.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, and again, because they try to change, you know, and adjust, and rightly so, because of pressure. You find that the selection does not actually meet the international criteria. We don't go very far in the international criteria. You know, because we are trying to change the original idea.
but you know, I see now that that's kind of sort of like a crux, because we don't meet international standards, but at the same time, it's our event. It's our national event. Why can't it meet the standards?
It's not national.
But let me just finish. The standards that connect with our expectations of Rwandan women that we see, you know, every day. And when you say they don't meet standards, are you talking about, you know, the size some of these models have to be? Are you talking about some of the, you know, the mental acuity? What exactly is it?
It's a franchise.
No, what exactly do you
So-
mean when you say we do not meet international
Yes, because
standards?
it's a franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, when you buy a franchise, there are certain,
So those standards, we don't meet them.
you know,
Yeah.
so you simply need to take a closer look. The more you try to change it, and you know, for the good, because they're really trying their best to
But
respond.
haven't we asked them to
you know.
change it to be
Yes,
contextual
yes,
to
yes,
Rwanda?
but you
But now
see-
you're saying they shouldn't because...
No. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I'm just saying that maybe we need to have a cost-benefit analysis and say, do we actually need this thing? You know, we are doing this, we're doing this. Do we actually need it? That is not a decision for me to make. I'm not the investor, you know. But as long as the investor feels that it makes business sense, they go ahead. That's fine. In my personal space, I don't think it makes sense. Yeah.
I don't agree quite often with Bana on certain things, but I agree with her on two particular points. And I'll probably be a little bit blunt than she has been. If Miss Rwanda is going to be looked at in the image of other pageants, notably Miss World, Miss Africa, and what have you, where we expect that our best are going to compete at the global stage, we have to apply similar standards. I am not too sure that somebody from Kachiru, who is my shape, would be a very good Miss Rwanda, however intelligent she may be. I'm sure she would not be. So therefore, don't even put her there from the onset.
So we are going back
Right.
to adhering to
Yes.
international standards.
Exactly.
If this person goes
Yes.
for Miss Universe and is from Miss Rwanda, she needs to be on
Yes,
that, you
yes.
know, like Brenda
let's
said,
not
standardized
yeah,
level.
Let's not tickle ourselves. I mean, we're trying to appease people, and we're misleading other people that they can actually get somewhere, yet they can't get anywhere. I'll also agree with Bana on the point about women and brains, that it should not be looked at as an exception. I mean, and I think Miss Rwanda has proven that over years, that all the top 3, 4, you know, the leading, whom you see are very close contestants, you find that they are actually all very beautiful, and all, you never want to be in the position of the judges because they are all very beautiful. So I think we have gone past that. We have seen that specifically in Rwanda, the two go hand in hand quite often. My point, however, is that it is extremely important that art is left to be art. Let us stop poking our nose in the eyes of an artist who has appeared with very little cotton on her body because it will make her video sell. It is art. Let us stop poking our nose in the eyes of an artist, a graphic artist, who has drawn an amazing picture of that cameraman doing his job, but he's in a compromising situation, and we say, no, that's his trade. And the same way with Miss Rwanda, if it's international. I mean, I'm going to give probably something that is a little bit off, but backfired against us because we wanted to make it very Rwandan. We woke up in the morning and said that our football is Rwandan, and to grow Rwandan football, our league must only have Rwandan players. After 9 years of experience, it backfired against us, and the top scorers today in our league are Rwandans, are non-Rwandans,
Yeah.
and our national league is progressing significantly, and even the national team is beginning to play better football. So the moment you over-localize your thoughts, you remain small. But the moment you become global in whatever you're intending to do, you become global. True to Miss Rwanda. Let's think globally. Let's forget about appeasing people from Nyamwishongwezi who have taken too much milk and they might struggle when they get to Indonesia. Yes.
Okay.
Can I
Yes,
just
please.
briefly, just to say that it's a business, and as in any business decision, you leave it to the owner of the business to take whatever decision they need to make sure that their business is sustainable. So some of these changes, I think, are geared towards that, ensuring that the business is sustainable.
Because the biggest sponsor is the government of Rwanda through the Ministry of Sports and
I
Culture.
think,
yeah.
I agree with you. For me, my personal take, I don't know if it's my job to agree with you both, but, I just like being in the middle of your debate. I think that extremely valid points from both of you, Brenna, the whole beauty and brains, and, why is that an exception to the rule when it comes to women? Charles, I like what you said about, once you keep your mind local, instead of global, you'll always remain in a certain position. And this also applies to the Miss Rwanda beauty pageant. My specific take would be to, I saw recently how some of these contestants are going on some of these unprofessional media, being interviewed by some of these YouTube sort of channels. And I don't know if it's lack of preparation by the organization, Miss Rwanda, like, all these contestants who've come here, when they come in, please have before even boot camp, like have a sort of regulatory mechanism or framework whereby, if this young lady is going to talk to media, which media is it? What questions are you going to ask? And have a patron, someone next to her. Because I was seeing some really disturbing videos. Some of these young girls are like 21, 22.
And you embarrass them.
And you're looking at the journalist asking ridiculous questions. And for me, my message to the Miss Rwanda organizers is please take care of our girls, especially our contestants, before boot camp and after the pageant ends. What they decide to do with media, that's fine. But right now, that needs to stop. That's my personal take. Can we move to the next topic? Right
Absolutely.
Now? Yeah. Okay.
No, just to say that two things. Charles mentioned something about letting art be what it is. I think there's no objection to that. Yeah, if it is art, it is art. Yeah, the issue is when you try to, if you present art and say it is not, it is something else. Yeah, if it's a fashion show, it's a fashion show.
Period.
Yeah, but don't try to paint it and then still tell us it is a fashion show. It should be obvious that it is art. If it's a fashion show, it is a fashion show. And very briefly again on the exposure. Why some of us have issues with the whole concept is because you lose control. Once you parade these girls, you lose control over the narrative. It is difficult. You can't protect them. Whichever way they try, I mean, in this democratic space with social media, you have no control over the narrative. So I don't see how you can actually protect them as long as you've paraded them somewhere and you're asking people, vote. That immediately takes a different discourse.
Yeah. I agree, but still at the same time, there can be deliberate measures to protect these girls when they enter the pageant. The way it's done in other countries, you enter, you cannot talk to media. If you talk to media, this. there's a way it can be improved. I mean, I like what they're doing, but I think there's room for improvement. Next topic, very important, is to do with mental health awareness, especially amongst young Rwandan people. And here specifically, we're going to look at the rates of increased suicide in this country. And according to the Rwanda Investigative Bureau, a total of 576, I think that number has been climbing, a total of 576 people in Rwanda have died by suicide in the last 2 years. This year began on a very somber note when a young man who lives, in Kigali, in the suburbs with his parents, was found dead by suicide. And he was a very avid social media, person. And some of his last posts, I don't know if it was on Instagram or Facebook, were really calling for his followers to be kinder to one another, to be more, empathetic to one another. It was sort of, I don't know if it was cryptic, but it was his last post before he died by suicide. So my question is, when it comes to young people, these rates are climbing. I mean, there are very many reasons. People can say there's depression, there's alcohol abuse, there's, we are a country that went through the genocide against the Tutsi, there's transgenerational trauma. But my question to both of you, and I'll start off with you, Berna, and then Charles, is what do you think are some of the leading causes of suicides in Rwanda, especially amongst the youth? And I know we've talked about this a lot. What do you think more needs to be done about this? Berna?
I haven't done a scientific study, so I don't know the cause. I can only speculate on some of the issues, yeah. And it's several issues that affect everyone, really, but I think most of the time it begins within the home, the family, where we are brought up, the environment, and some of these things just grow with time, and it becomes difficult. But again, we are also seeing that social media itself, consumption of social media is a problem. And it's difficult in terms of what you do. It's difficult to regulate social media. Before, I think 2 years ago, we hosted Bishop Buchahana, and he was talking about the importance of strong families. And I like that our Cardinal Catholics has actually made protecting families and the role of the family is one of his priorities as Cardinal. I think we have more work to do there.
Starting from the family unit.
Yes, from the family unit. Beyond that, mental health issues it's a global problem. It is also, I think it is getting as bad as COVID. And I think if we can do more studies to really look at the cost of, these mental health issues, on our economy, the more we'll be more decisive, because at the moment, people tend to think it's just an issue of you go to a counselor and it will be sorted. But we know that how many professional counselors do we have? I know the Ministry of Health has been working very hard. They tried actually to implement, there's a policy on mental health, and they've been trying to integrate it even at the local level. But the demand outweighs, the help that is available at the moment. So I feel that if we can have more comprehensive studies that actually paint the picture and showing us that, look, this is what actually happens. As we continue to ignore mental health issues, this is how much we are losing, and this is how likely it will get worse if we don't take action, make it. And some of the things, really, it is essentially integrating it in all the aspects of our lives, whether it's at work. Currently, the government is the biggest employer. How much of mental health support is actually there within public service, for instance? how much of that is there, and what kind of protection is there for people who have mental health issues. For instance, if you've been seeing a counselor and you really have an issue you're dealing with, if you lose your job, how quickly can you get it back? You know, do we have a policy that allows that? Because again, what we tend to see is if someone has been struggling with an issue and maybe they are forced out of work, immediately they are put in a certain box and it's difficult for them to get back into employment, you know. So, but then I think what fundamentally has to be done is to look at it in terms of the costs on the economy, you know.
Absolutely.
Very much like we've been talking about teenage pregnancies, you know, how much it costs us.
As a country.
Yeah.
Two things for me before I get to Charles. You know, we've been doing this show for almost 5 years, and we've been very deliberate in discussing mental health, mental wellness, societally, across the workplace, you know, amongst young people for the longest time ever on a very regular basis. But I find it mad, I find it crazy that, and I said this early on, for a country that went through one of the most tragic events in human history, the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, we still have acute stigma when it comes to people who seek mental support. You know, whether it's depression, whether it's alcoholism, whether it's drug or substance abuse, or just not showing up to work. You know, we're quick to label. You know, if someone in the office, you know, most workplaces don't even have mechanisms to understand what's happening when they see someone acting a certain way. That's one. Most young people who are going through this are just branded as, you know, it's youth. It's so and so maybe as a family don't even know how to take care of their kids. Other than few centers like Ichizere or Ndera Karares or Solid Minds, these are some of the mushroom, Sana Initiative, some of the mushrooming, you know, small institutions that are coming up to deal with this problem. But for a population of, you know, 13 million, mental health is still considered a taboo topic, despite our history. Yeah, I find that there's no way to understand it. So until we start destigmatizing this issue, we will see the suicide rates, especially amongst young people, continue to go up. This is a post-genocide generation. So it's crazy to know that it's happening a lot. And the disconnect between generations in understanding what these young people are going through vis-a-vis what, you know, maybe some of us or elders went through in terms of understanding mental wellness. So the disconnect, the stigmatization, more investment also needs to be done in mental health outfits or institutions or organizations. So that's my takeaway. I think for Rwanda as a country, this is not something we should take lightly at all. Over to you, Charles.
Earlier today, I was driving through Kinyinya, to your last point around the investment, around mental health facilities. And as you're going up Kinyinya toward the former Deutsche Welle, when you get just before the Kenya Health Center, the Centre de Santé, take a road, there's a huge project happening there. So I took curiosity and I read on the signboard, and it said something mental health care facility, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember the exact wordings. The government of Rwanda can be very generous with its choice of words. But there's a center coming up there, and I thought it was very nice that in a very nice, plush neighborhood, there's in Kenya, just below the health center, the Rwanda Housing Authority is building a fantastic facility there, and I thought it was a huge step in the right direction. I also picked up interest in statistics, I think, that were done by the Rwanda RIB. RIB released stats to the effect that between June 2019 and July 2021, which is a period of 2 years, there were 579 cases of suicide. Simple arithmetic, it's a period of 24 months. It means that one person in Rwanda, every 30 hours, is committing suicide.
Within this time frame of 2 years?
Yes, within that period of 2 years. There's one person every 30 hours who is committing suicide. That's extremely alarming. Has that statistic been brought to people's attention? Probably yes, probably no. You know, it's very easy to throw around COVID did this and COVID did that, and then we say, you know, we'll find another way. But in such a short time, that's extremely alarming. But I want to talk about the impact of social media and the media that we consume. I think that has a very huge role on us, on our day-to-day lives. And you know, if in the media there are pictures of slim men who have made it in life, and I'm round. It's very easy to be complex, and I may not want to appear in public because of that.
Especially because the younger you are.
Yes, if the media is awash with young boys or young girls who are making it in life, driving cars, and you know, and my parents are from the village. I'm like, and I'm a little older. It's very easy for me to say I'm never going to make it in life. So social media. That's the point I'm really trying to raise. Has not done done us any good. And to your point, Diane, about being deliberate about these things. We need to ensure that there's lots of positive messages going out there that don't put people in a position of feeling inferior and in a less competitive state because of their different status.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, we really run out of time. We have not even gone to a Twitter feed. So I'd like us to go to a Twitter feed. But before I do, on this topic, I wanted to say that if you're in Rwanda and experiencing mental health challenges, the number to call, it's a toll-free number, is 8015, and you will receive free and confidential emotional support. 8015. I'm going to read our tweets in the next few minutes. And the first tweet coming in on what we've been discussing is from George Herman, who says, the biggest mistake I've seen in Kigali since 1997 is the CBD town car-free zone. Though it looks very nice now, I don't believe it will pick up, and that's for obvious reasons. I am there at least once a week to see my Pakistani barber. Charles is 100% right on this. Okay, I think Brenna and I will disagree, George and you, Charlie. He agrees with you, Charles, but I have hope for that area.
It's realistic.
The next tweet is on Miss Rwanda 2022. I think they should also do more protection for the girls against the media, like TVs, radio, and YouTube, because you have been seeing what's trending on social media. They are being embarrassed and frustrated in front of people. Absolutely. I thank you for the tweets. We don't really have time to read as many of them as we'd love to. And I would like us to come to the end of the show. Brenda, did you want to say something very quickly?
Yeah, just to say that it's wishful thinking to think that you can tell people what to say on social media. You know, you can't. People will do whatever they want on social media, and you have no control over that space. But I think what you have control over is, one, how you react to what you see on social media. So if you raise awareness, for instance, run a campaign that what you see on social media is not actually the reality. You know, there are filters, there are all sorts of things. That may help someone understand that they don't have to be worried if they go on Instagram and there are all these posh-looking people.
There's a reality to, some of these things.
Yeah, so, you know, awareness around what social media actually is. Because you can't control what people post. And very lastly, on Miss Rwanda, it's an ongoing debate. I know the business people behind it are really trying so hard to keep the franchise. But I hope that the girls who go there feel that they deserve more and they deserve better, and they will aspire to just do better than that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Brenna. Charlie, thank you very much. It's always a very great time co-hosting Viewers Edition. I like, your debates, very strong points from both of you. And the debate is what I look forward to as much as our viewers do. To our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you as always. We've been doing this for 27 months. Specifically Viewers Edition, and you always give us content to talk about, and thank you very much for that. And also to our partners, Uzi Collections and Bourbon Coffee, thank you for always supporting The Square. Have a good night. See you again next week.
Arabiya app is here. How'd you get it? It is easier than ever. Go on your home screen. Press Play Store or App Store. Type Arabiya. Search. There you go. You have Arabiya app. You have all Arabiya radios, news, business news,